Hello, I'm Michael Redmond, professional nine-dan-go player. In this video, I'm going to be showing the SEIGEN Cup final, the third game of a three-game match, and the players are TANG Jiawen and UENO Asami. TANG Jiawen is a Chinese player. She's a 6-dan pro, and she's taken a number of Chinese titles, female titles, for the last couple of years. So she's a Chinese champion. UENO Asami is a Japanese player. She's 5-dan pro. She's also taking a number of Japanese domestic female tournaments. Right now, she has the Tachiaoi Cup. And she has a nickname. She's called the Hammer. That's because I guess it feels like that sometimes. And it turns out that was just Ueno killing one of your groups. So, to start the game, I am going to focus on this position in the lower right, where there's a pending ko. So we're going to see that happen. And it's also a modern joseki. So I actually made some videos about this joseki in the lower right. And I'll put some links in the description. So back to the beginning. Black has played Star Point and Shimari. So this is a point in the game where White played the attachment here. This is a move you see strong players play. You can find it in professional games. So it's a joseki that I think it's worth knowing. Other moves that White could have played at this point, of course, if you believe in AIs, you probably see the 3-3 point. That would be, nowadays it would be a normal move, I suppose. Before we had AIs, I think most people played the Kakari here. And so White played here. Black could have played a Hane underneath, and the game move was a Hane on top. So I made some joseki videos about this, both of those moves. So I'll put links in the comments again for these two. There's at least two joseki videos that I made about this. White's best move is a Hane underneath, and Black's best move is a connection here. So this is the important move. If Black plays an Atari and then connects, and White has a strong enough position to be able to jump in to attach at the 3-3 point. So by not playing the Atari, Black is stopping White from going all that way in one move, because of course if White does it now, this is going to be bad. So it's that difference. So in the game, White extended, and now Black plays an Atari. So this is where the joseki branches. There was a game that I played in which my opponent played this move, and this was the joseki. We played something like this. So locally, it generally goes on to White 5, and of course Black has a number of choices with Black 6, which is a more positional judgment. So of course, I think on the right side, 6 is where I would play, whereas if you want to play a 3-3, direct 3-3 point or something like that, that would also be an option at this point. In the game, White did not connect. So when White doesn't connect, White plays like this. And this is actually the more popular joseki. And Black captures a stone, and White gets to capture a stone here. So Black plays an Atari. So this is the strongest move. I think playing straight down would be slightly weak. And this leaves a pending ko. So when I have a game that in which this joseki is played, the first thing I say is that it's a pending ko that is not going to happen very early in the game. So it generally takes the whole middle game to get to playing this ko. And that's because from Black's point of view, winning the ko takes time, and sometimes it's not worth it. So for instance, connecting here, Black would have not yet killed the White group in the corner. So Black needs one more move, and then finally the White group will be dead. So this would be dead. White wouldn't play those moves, but it's going to die now. So Black can kill it, but it's taken a lot of stones. So it's probably not worth it. So this would be one example. Or White could play, if White played here, this would be alive. So early on, maybe it's not worth it for Black to play the ko. There is a variation where black plays here and actually captures it, but it's going to lose a lot towards the right side. So in this case also, it's usually not worth it to start the ko too early. So black leaves it. And from white's point of view, playing this just gives black an extra move when black wins the ko. So in this case, white 1 becomes a wasted stone, and black got to win the ko 1 move quicker, which makes it worth it for black now. So that wasted stone that white has played at 1 is really important. It makes it a big difference, which is good enough for black. So that's why both players tend to leave this. But from white's point of view, if white can get an effective ko threat, then sometimes white will cut at s6. Okay, the large came up. This did leave an open 3-3 point, so white could have played there, but in the game, white just extended. Here, black has a strong position on the right, so it's okay for white to... the idea with white's play here, it seems that white's sort of giving the bottom side to black, so it's okay for white to do that and build towards the left side of the board. Okay, so black invaded at m17. The old style way of playing would be wedging at this point. So this move. And it depends on the ladder. The ladder favors black. So I would usually say that this is a good idea. There is a problem with this. So the issue is black wants to play an Atari at L18. But the ko could be an issue. So if black simply plays here, then white has extra eye space, so it becomes relatively easy for white to make 2 eyes for that group. Whereas, ideally, black would like to be able to play the Atari. In which case, a similar sequence. Now that white group, it's going to be difficult for white to make 2 eyes. So, the group is not easily alive, and it means that black has some potential to attack, or maybe just play some forcing moves while pushing white around. So there's almost a 1 move difference in the result. So this would be okay for black. The problem being that this is not going to be forcing. So white's going to play the ko, maybe a cut here first, just to make the ko threat really effective. So this is a big ko threat. If black answers it, black's going to run out of ko threats. And if black connects there, that is a ko threat, but it's a really bad exchange for 16. So the exchange of black 15 for 16 is so bad that now white can actually just lose the ko. And black has a clumpy shape there, so that was kind of a wasted move there. Or if black plays here, black did lose a lot in the lower left. So this would be playable for white. And white would still have a fight on the top side. Okay, so that's why she didn't wedge. And black played a hane on this side. So with this sequence, black is trying to squeeze. So for instance, if white plays here, in this case, black is going to get some kind of a squeeze, making some territory in the top right corner, and probably building on the right side too. So, and eventually, if black can invade in the 3-3 point, that's a good way for black to reduce white's area in the top left. And so if black gets to that point at c17, then the thickness that white is going to get towards the top side is, the value of that is reduced. So black can sometimes afford just to give the whole top side to white. Okay, so white plays an Atari underneath, but white has to be careful of the hole on the 4th line. So if white plays from underneath, black's going to push through here. If white plays from above, black covers. Black's going to jump out at J17 next. So if white covers from the outside, this semi looks like black has an advantage. So there is a kind of a ko there, but it's going to be difficult for white. So this is, if we just play the semi here, black is going to win by a 1 move difference. So that was bad for white. And in the game, white wedged here. For one thing, it's extending the liberties of white's stones in the top right. And it's also preventing black from pushing through at L16. So if black pushes through here, this becomes a double threat. So it's just not working for black. So black covered here. And now white can capture. So this was an interesting sequence. I think it was well played by both sides. And black has a lot of cutting points to defend. So black played here and white cut and then connected here. So this is threatening the corner and black protected here. In a way, this was a game-changing move. I would probably play there myself, and it's probably the best move. But there is an issue here that is important. It's the fact that if black had played here, white's co-threats would be relatively limited in the top right corner, and that would postpone this ko. So white's probably not going to play this ko in this case. However, when black plays here, the game move, white has a lot of co-threats in the top right. It means that the ko is going to work for white. So this ko it actually happened in a couple of moves. So in that way, this would be a safer move, but eventually it is going to lose something like 5 points in the corner when white plays here. So the endgame sequence would be like this, and that would be about a 5-point difference in the size of black's territory. So that's significant. And that's why black played this way. And white extended. So this finished the position on the top side. If white had not played that, then black would be able to push through here. And so that would probably be bad for white. So white finishes that position. And black pushed here. When black played here, black's score did go down, the winning percentage. And that's because this was a point where black had to stop white from playing the ko. So if black had played here, white would still have co-threats in the top right. And it looks like black just have to connect here. So this would be a big move. It would be threatening white's corner. So white would defend here. And then black could dive into the 3-3 point. So this would have been the optimal sequence for black. It's an unusual case in which black has to connect at 5. So it's just the fact that black was very weak in co-threats because white still has co-threats in the top right corner. In the game, black pushed here, and white took this opportunity to cut. So white's calculation here is correct, and black has to answer this. So this is more than 30 points. So if black were to connect here and white were to take these stones, it would be huge. So yes, it's something like 35 points. So black has to answer that. It's just a huge co-threat, and it's worth more than the lower right corner. So black plays a co-threat here. And here we come to a kind of a tactical idea about playing kos. Sometimes you want to make the stakes bigger when you have good co-threats, like white does have in this game. So winning the ko like this is a very satisfying thing. So that's a big profit for white. But if white can win the ko like this, and then capture at Q6, that's much bigger than winning by capturing on the first line. So this would be much better. And in this case, white has the co-threats, a valid co-threat here. So that's still so big in the top right corner. If black continues with this, white's going to get this. Although it took white one extra move, this is huge compared to taking at T5. So it's not just the territory, which is sizable in itself. It's also the fact that black's group here in the lower right, this group is not very strong now. And so when white invades the bottom side, white will invade as an attack. If black doesn't have any co-threat, maybe black's going to connect. And so white got that exchange of 1 for 6 before winning the ko. And after white wins the ko, of course, black would not connect at 6. So the difference there is pretty big. And this would be a good variation for white. So white's group on the top side is alive. Black did cut off some white stones in the center. So black cut these white stones off. But they're not 100% dead yet. So this would have been a success for white. So white's mistake was in just continuing the code as it was. And so when white answered here, white lost the opportunity to play an Atari on the third line. White still had a lot of co-threats, so she's still correct in thinking that she has enough co-threats to win the ko. She actually has about 4 more co-threats, at least, in the top right corner. And so white can actually afford to answer this. So up to a certain point, she's going to answer something like 3 or 4 times, and she'll still be okay. She'll still have enough co-threats. So white is, as white answers here in the top left corner, white is calculating the remaining co-threats that she has in the top right. So cutting here again, white knows that she has at least 2 co-threats in the top right. And so she can afford to cut here and capture the black stone. So she can answer that way. So all of these co-threats that white played in the top right corner, they were all extremely big. And black had to answer them all. And at this point, both sides have run out of co-threats. The top right and the top left, there's no big moves left. So in the top left, playing an Atari here would be a big move, but it's not going to be forcing. So white's not going to answer that co-threat. Actually, black does have a number of options. So let's take a look at the game move. This was the game move. And it seems a passive move, but it was the idea that she was going to combine it with this move. So black's trying to, even you might say black's trying to attack the white group in the corner. So that was the way it was played in the game. There's also the option of playing here. So this was the move that Katago was suggesting, and white will finish the ko. Black plays here. This looks pretty good to me also. So it's probably a very subtle difference. The combination of protecting the bottom side and playing an extension. So, and white played here. So this was interesting in that Katago was showing me this move, and black plays here, white jumps. So provided white jumps here at 3, then the position on the left is fairly safe. The value of this variation for white is that actually white 5 is a very big move. It settles the position in the top left and makes it gives it some potential to become a moyo. So playing an Atari at b15 for black is also a huge move that changes the status of white's group in the corner and the black stones on the outside of it. So since that was a very important point at 5, this was a way for white to play more forcefully and get to that point. The white group in the corner, it's actually very difficult for black to kill it. So white could even leave it and it's still going to be difficult. Black's probably going to attack from this side, and then white can live in the corner, and it's not a big issue here either. So in this case, pushing through here would be miai with a move like this, which would reduce the value of those white stones on the outside, even if black manages to capture them, because white's also starting to build an area in the top left. Okay, back to the game variation. White played here. So the problem with this was that it didn't resolve the local issue with sente. So white had to continue playing here to stop black from blocking white there. And black got sente to play this move. So this is putting some pressure on the white stones in the corner. It is very difficult for black to kill these stones. So just to give an example, let's say white plays something like this. So in this case, if we look at the local position, if white plays here and here, white is threatening to push at c5 and capture a black stone. So this would be, maybe it would just be a ko. So if black plays here, it's going to be a ko. There is a tetsuji of black playing here, in which case, provided the black group on the side is strong enough, black can sometimes kill white like this. So in this variation, there's going to be a ko. So this would be a ko. This would be a seki. So like this. This would be a seki in the corner. It's still difficult for black to kill the white group, even after black has played at b5. Black is actually looking at opportunities to attack the whole white group. So with moves like this or moves like this, which would threaten to cut at different places. So cutting the whole thing off or playing at g7 would be threatening to play a hana here next and cut white off here. So if black cuts off the white group at some other point like this, then now white doesn't have two eyes in the corner. So sometimes black can find a larger attack, in which case white would have difficulty making life. So white plays here and black played here. So the idea here is that black didn't want to give white these forcing moves that would reinforce the white group in the lower left. Okay, so we come to the climax of the game here, where black's group in the top left corner is in danger. And so this was a very good move. I admired this move. It's escaping with the stone on the H line, but it's not easy for white to cut off the black stones on the left either. So in the game, white played here, and in this variation, black actually found room to make two eyes. So we'll look at that later. If white had played here, it would have been a more efficient way of cutting the black group off. But there is an attachment, two attachments. So one of these two moves, black can try one of them, and it will, especially the attachment at F13, is going to be trouble for white. So white needs to protect that, and it's relatively easy for black to live on the top side. So that's the idea here. In this case, it would be okay for black to sacrifice those stones on the left. So white pushed. When black played here, black is still threatening the cut at G15, which would set up an attachment here. So there's this problem that white has here. So white pushed through. And white lived in the corner. And black used this move after all to live on the side. So black is alive now. And white invaded here. So at this point, I'd say black has established a lead. So here white is playing actively on the bottom side. It's a bit dangerous. So this is where black's attack starts. Going back to this point, this would have been what I would call maybe a normal move. It would reinforce the white group. So it would reinforce the connection, the knight's move connection here, which was it was going to be a weakness there. And more distantly, it would stop this cut from being a huge risk for white. So once white has a stone at 1, that cut that I've marked here, it's not going to be a big issue. So that would be a useful move. And it looks like black has a bit of a lead. So that's why white didn't play that way. So she felt she was behind, and she's playing more actively than that. So black extends here. So it looks like there's a lot of white stones on the left. Maybe it looks dangerous, but actually it's black who is attacking here. And this white group that's on the E line, I guess, so this white group here, it's not as strong as you might think because it doesn't have two eyes in the corner, and there's a cutting point here at F12, which is going to be a problem for white. So also, black has strength on the right half of the board, and this move is moving out towards the center. It's also setting up a net. So that made it relatively easy for black. Black captured. And white has to deal with this group moving out from the bottom side. But it's not worth it if white doesn't try to attack black on the right. So that's why white covered here. And black jumped out. So white jumped out and black cut here. And so this attack had almost materialized from nowhere. The whole white group on the left half of the board, it's in danger. And it's entangled with the fact that white's group moving out into the center from the bottom side is in trouble also. So white's trying to put some pressure on black's group in the lower right, and black plays here. So this move has a number of purposes. So one thing, its immediate threat is a peep here, which would cut off this white stone. So there's a peep there. Sometimes black will use the peep on the other side if black gets in trouble on the left side. There's also a peep here, and so combined with this peep, and for instance a move somewhere around here, black's going to have some room to make two eyes. So this move that black has just played, it's attacking white by looking at these peeps, defending black's position on the left half of the center, and also creating a peep here which will help black make some eye space. So black's expanding her eye space at the same time. And white has an issue on the left side. So if these black stones get connected up, then white's group on the left half of the board, it doesn't really have any good places to make eyes. So that's going to be an issue for white. So white plays here. So white's trying to resolve all of those issues all at once. And to a certain degree, this has succeeded. So for the time being, white has captured these black stones, and that if black pushes out here, well, yeah. So like this, for instance, playing the other way would be bad too. Even if black manages to escape, black's position on this side would be falling apart. So that's an example of something that black doesn't want to do. So with this exchange, white has reinforced the connection to this stone while capturing these two black stones. So that's what white did there. And black could play the peep because she wanted to capture here anyway. So this is renewing the threat on the right side. So at any point, black can extend here, and this would save the cutting stones. So that threat is renewed by the capture at this point. So here we have black just making two eyes. So this is the bent four shape. If white continues here, so this is an example of how black is locally alive here. The group is 100% alive. So that's important. So she's alive, and it's still difficult for white to connect up on the side, and white still has to capture these two black stones. So if white had only one of those two problems, I think white would have survived, but white has to move back here, and now white's not going to be in time. So white really needs to have sente so that white can do something like this on the side, and this would start to make some eye space on the right side. So for instance, something like this. So the fact that black had the initiative in the center here, just because black was making a double threat, let's go back. The double threat was starting already when black played this move. So this was already threatening both the left and the right, you might say, white's group from the bottom side to the center. And the double threat, she kept it throughout this fight, and white eventually had to protect the center. So now black played here. Now white is about to be cut off in the center, and she had to answer. And at this point, white resigned. So all of this didn't really amount to much, but if white had played here, then I suppose black would play some move like this. And white has no eye space, so this would just die anyway. UENO had won the third game, so she won 2-1 in the final of the SEIGEN Cup, and she became the world champion. So thank you for watching to the end, and I'll be back with more videos, I hope. Thank you.